So what happens when your significant other cares more about him or herself than he or she does about you?
New York Times bestselling author and psychologist Dr. John Townsend joins us in our at-home living room to share tips on dealing with a narcissist. Please tell us how to deal with narcissists.
And this is a big word and one that's used often but rarely truly understood. So can you explain for us what a narcissist is?
It's really an unfortunate word because once somebody's pegged as a narcissist, you think, well, it's hopeless forever. They'll always be about me. You know, what they say is a narcissist is somebody, when you go to a party, they say, let's not talk about me anymore. Let's talk about what you think about me.
Right. But there's a
That's
difference
how you
between
know.
being selfish and being a narcissist.
It means three things, basically. One is all things refer to them. Second is grandiosity, and I'm bigger than life. And third thing is I'm defensive when you see something that you want to talk to me about because I can't be a bad guy.
Yes.
That's kind of what always typifies the problem.
And that just describes all of my ex-boyfriends.
So what's the common denominator?
I was waiting for that. I was about to say, I know a lot of those people in my life, so how do I deal with them, Dr. John?
How do you deal with them? What is the best way to deal with them? Because a lot of it won't change.
Right.
A lot of it is maybe the way they were raised or just
Actually,
the way
a
they're
lot
wired.
does change.
Really?
You really can change, yeah.
Oh, good.
There are some that are very, very severe, and it's a whole different issue. They need lots of help and medication and all that. But a lot of them really can change if you have the right approach, because everybody wants a good relationship. And a person that has that self-centered view, actually, they're very lonely people, because looking in the mirror gets kind of old after a while. So there's some things you can do. The very first thing is, I think, is to be vulnerable with them and to say, I like what we're doing, I like who we are, but you're having coffee or whatever. But you say, the way you impact me makes it hard to feel close to you. Even a narcissist wants somebody to be close to it. So then their first question is, well, it can't be about me. Well, yeah.
You're like, as usual, it is about you.
No, you can't say that, because then the defensiveness comes.
Right.
You kind of like open the kimono a bit and say, when you make it about yourself, I feel far away from you, or I feel like I can't be open with you, and I would appreciate it if you would like enter my world more. And then they start kind of getting the glimmer that this is how I can have a good relationship with this person. That's kind of the first big key.
How do they even learn how to do that, though, if they're so used to doing it the other way? They're so programmed to come from a
You're the
me
teacher, and you
perspective.
model it. You say, for example, you remember when I asked you about your day, and you talked about, what the boss was like and the traffic was like and how you killed it on that account, how great it was. I want you to do that with me and ask me questions that open me up too. And you kind of say, here's the 4 or 5 things I did because I'm interested in you. And then they'll go, that's what I say? And you say, yeah. So they'll say, well, how was your day? And you go, oh, you asked me how my day was.
Now, Dr. John, what would you do if you've had this conversation many times? At what point do you just go, okay,
when
I'm
it's more
done?
severe than you
Maybe.
think. Yeah.
Or at what point do you just kind of give up hope on
Throw in
them,
the towel.
at them ever really changing?
I never have.
So you don't give up.
I never have.
You continue having that conversation with them.
Well, less. There are some people that you really shouldn't be around at all. They're very toxic. Those are the ones that you need lawyers, guns, and money around. I mean, they're just not, they're destructive. But there are those who are just kind of easier to work with. They'll say, I don't know, okay, ask you questions about myself. And then those in the middle category that are more severe, what you have to do with them is you give them several chances, and then at some point you've got to say, I need to limit the amount of exposure I have on our relationship. And if you decide that you're interested in my life and decide to enter my world and be nice to me, I'll spend more time. But some people don't listen to words, they listen to actions.
So if you remove yourself from the
If you remove yourself and
situation-
say, look, maybe I can't see you for a week because this didn't go well, but maybe if you're nice next week, we can talk. But it's like your kid. You can tell your kid all day, stop beating your little sister on the head with the little hammer, but until you have that kid in timeout, they go, oh, they're serious. Sometimes you have to go to actions besides just words.
Exactly.
Is it useful to point out in the conversation when, say you've had the conversation about, I'd really like you to ask me about me, and then you find out all of a sudden you're asking me about me, but why are we talking about you again? How does the conversation, how do you say, oh, you did that? Well, when I used to do this, or when that happens to me, is it okay to point out, like, okay.
The best teaching
back
or the
here.
best transformational experience is in the moment. You just did a beautiful in the moment, because then they go, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, because when I just told you I had a bad day, and you said, well, I've had 14 bad days. That's what I'm talking about,
Right.
Sam. So can you stick with me a little bit longer? Because a person with narcissistic issues, it's like in football, you lateral the ball to somebody and they take the ball and they don't lateral it back. They just go down the field with it. You got to say, keep the ball in my court a bit. in the moment.
These are such good tips, and I feel like we've just
There's a lot of hope.
scratched the
Don't
iceberg.
give up on them. There's a lot of hope.
That's
Don't
a good
give
words.
up on them.
Yeah.
There's hope.
All right. Well, Dr. Townsend is sticking around. We're going to talk about setting boundaries with an ex-spouse when things just don't work out. That's another one that I feel is going to take a long time to talk about. We're going to try it in a few minutes when we come back.